Can any Jalen Hurts haters please stand up? Hello, everyone. Welcome to Philly. I don't know why I did this pause. I'm not going to be able to edit a thing in the middle. There we go. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to Philly Sports Now, Philly Fan Podcast. My name is Zach. With me is Andrew. We're back to talk all things Philly sports. Now, the Eagles went and finally got themselves a needed win after a two-game losing streak. Jalen Hurts with a perfect game, which we will, of course, get to. Uh, Jalen Hurts, of course, putting up his best performance of all time against his predecessor, Carson Wentz, starting for the Minnesota Vikings. The game ended with a total of they ended 28-22 win. I think that's actually important because I'll get into this wasn't by any means a gimme game, and it's a little kind of a tough pill to swallow moment. When or Hurts having his best game ever, and technically we won by a defensive touchdown, and I think that's an interesting comment to take. But I'm not here to say the sky is falling. I'm coming in a positive mindset of the Eagles got themselves a needed win. Hurts kind of did shut up the haters. It feels like we'll see, and there's just plenty to go off of there. Another big AJ Brown game, another big Devontae Smith game. Obviously, the passing game was huge with a perfect QBR rated Carson Hurts. Jesus, you gotta take the mic. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I obviously keep saying it. Jalen Hurts, big game, big passing game. It's a great time. It's a great spot to continue on. I'm mumbling, so I'm going to throw it to Andrew. Andrew, your thoughts on Hurts and his tremendous game?
Yeah, it reminds you a little bit of last season when you had, the wake up call against Tampa Bay, again blown out to the Buccaneers down in Tampa, and then you had you had a full bye last season. Then this season you have the mini bye, and you see him come out of the gate. You get the big fourth down play that leads to that first touchdown to AJ Brown, and that just screamed, Nick Sirianni, old aggressive play calling. And I think, you really saw that from the get go there. And I think you saw a little bit of that adjustments fans wanted to see going into this game. So I think overall, yeah, it was a great game. And then to your point, you have the big defensive touchdown as well. So you win the turnover battle. You have another interception down the road as well. So you win the turnover battle there. And I think, anytime this team wins a turnover battle, and then credit to the defense for holding the Vikings to all field goals inside the red zone there. So when you win the red zone, you win the turnover. That's going to keep leading to wins. And that's what this Eagles team was able to do against that Vikings team, and frankly, a very good Vikings team. They're a good defensive team, and they're two very good wide receivers and a really good running back. I mean, they've got arguably the best wide receiver in football. So, I get it. Obviously, they're not the strongest at quarterback, but I mean, they got weapons to go. And I mean, and I think the Eagles did what they had to, right? They sacrificed the yardage in this game for the field goals because, I mean, Wentz did throw for over 300 yards. So obviously it wasn't a perfect game from a team standpoint, but to me, a lot of good things compared to the previous 2 weeks.
It's crazy to have Wentz throw for 300 yards and only get 22 points. I think that does show how commendable the defense was for the Eagles.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think it shows you what they're able to do. And, they got a lot of pressure on them. I thought forced him into some bad throws, obviously. Specifically, those two interceptions, especially the second one. While both were bad, but that second one couldn't have been easier for a safety in Makuba to catch, I think. That was the scrambling and just kind of heaved it up. And no, yeah, I think this defense did what they had to do. And again, I think it went a long way. But the toughest part, too, is just the injuries that this team keeps facing.
Yeah, and we'll get into later, maybe next episode, technically, what that injury has kind of led to, and it's bringing back a veteran, and that feels like a fun tease considering the fact it's already national news. But let's go into I forget how you said it, and I was gonna make a segue, but I'm just gonna be a bad segue right now. But like I said, big throwing game, big passing game, which leads to big games by Smith and Brown, you know, and another record in this same game. Devontae Smith had his longest career reception at 79 yards, and that's huge. It's so funny to me that a player like Devontae Smith, who is our wide receiver too, right? is just such a wide receiver one at the end of the day.
Yeah, and that's full credit to the front office and Howie Roseman for finding a way to negotiate those contracts and save room for both him and AJ Brown. And to your point too, on top of the longest reception, I think it was his longest or not longest, his most yardage in a game for Devontae Smith in a game as well.
That
And
makes sense.
I think with that being said, you wanted to see this, right? You wanted to see everybody start getting involved. We've seen Dallas Goedert step up with a couple touchdown games, and it was kind of when are you going to get that Devontae Smith and AJ Brown combined big game? We've seen them both have sparks individually, but together in one game, that was the first time we really saw it this season. And I think on top of that, going into that game, I was looking for this to be the Barkley game because the Vikings had uh, on paper, the weaker link was the rushing defense, and they had statistically one of the best passing defense in football. So to see you come away with it against a good defense against the pass speaks volumes of what this team was able to do going in and getting both those guys involved.
Now, I do want to shift here to AJ Brown having a great game as well, 121 yards and two touchdowns. Is this the game that finally shuts up the whole AJ Brown controversy? I think the last time I heard something before this game, people were talking about how thank God it's finally like out in the open that there's a problem, and I just don't. Again, I feel like I do a better job, generally speaking, of not putting on the homer goggles when it comes to the teams we talk about. Of course, I'm going to root for them, but like I'm not typically saying the Eagles are going to win every single game. I'm not sitting here saying the Phillies are going to win every like right. I think I do a good job of not being homer, and for some reason it always feels like I'm wrong when I talk about AJ Brown when every other sports station is trying to start controversy and it just doesn't actually like if I use my actual eyes and ears, I don't see it. And I think you are drumming up nonsense. And this game just felt like another statement game that has to be made every year where it's like shut the fuck up. Here's the play. Here's two touchdowns. He's fine. Everything's fine.
Yeah, I can't remember what his final statistics were, but it reminded me of the game last year against the Pittsburgh Steelers when he went off. And it was, I mean, the only difference was that game was at home, but he had that giant game. I think it was multiple touchdowns and a big yardage game as well. So it kind of reminded me of that. To your point, yeah, you needed that. I'm still here. Anyway, at this point, like with all the negativity surrounding it, I almost feel like he's getting a little bit of the Joel Embiid in him in the sense of now he's just trolling fans. I don't know if you saw him post on Instagram today. I know
Uh,
you've been busy, but he posted a picture of himself with the ball, and the only caption was "using me but not using me." And I think at this point, like fans are gonna run with it. Oh, he's still not happy, blah blah blah. I've already seen people put that out on some of the sports stations, but like I think he's just trolling at this point. I think he's got that full Joel Embiid now,
oh,
just trolling.
I definitely think he's trolling, and I think it's the right move from him. I just I just don't think there's actual conversation to be had about this other than trying to create clickbait titles, which like I don't know, maybe the system creates one for us, but like it's one of those things where it just doesn't it's so stupid. Like this team was still figuring out its offense this year. It was it's crazy we have to have the conversation after week 7, 6. What are we on? We're going into week 7, right?
We're
So
5-2,
it's
so week 8. We
oh
just
my
finished week
god,
7.
it's time's flying. But it's crazy that we have to have this conversation again about you have a new coordinator, you have to adjust, you have to figure it out. And it does I thought this game felt very similar to coming off of the bye last year when we went into the bye winning but kind of struggling, and then you came out of the bye dominating, right? And like this game, even though the score doesn't really show it, it did feel like they were dominating.
Yeah, and I think you gotta remember too is it's not going to go from struggling to greatness and perfection all over one week. Like that's what you build up through the rest of this year. Like even last year, you had that Browns game where you snuck the win, and then you kept building from that game. This is you get that first win, and then you keep building from it. It's not going to go to as perfect as it was last year, just in one week. I mean, it's the build up that gets to there. And the best part is if you're finding that spike now, once you actually get to the bye week, then you're going to even elevate it to the next step. And and I was jumping way ahead, but like you get the Packers the first game after the bye. So that's obviously a big game in itself down in Lambeau Field. So I mean, that week after the bye is going to be a fun game. So
We
that
need to
that
be 100%.
it, and obviously you already lost the Giants once, and that's your game before the bye. So going into this week, so it's going to be interesting. Yeah, what we see different this game compared to the last game against the Giants, and then that game after the bye.
I guess mini pause, but I don't. As far as recap go, don't really have anything else to add. So, Andrew, if there's anything else you wanted to talk about, I think now's just the time to bring it up and discuss it.
We still pause. Sorry.
No, sorry,
No.
unpause. Now,
Um,
yeah, I'll do some
so
quick. I should be able to edit it a little bit. So,
So yeah, I think I think there's a lot to take away from in this game. A lot of good things, and I think you just continue to push on that into this Giants game, and hopefully you see that spark going into that game, going forward. But I think again the biggest takeaway is I think this was the most complete game from the offense and defense together, and you saw it. And like you said, while the score doesn't show it, it kind of felt a little comfortable throughout the way.
agreed. That's what it's a weird game where I will say the only negativity is like we don't have a buttload of points, but it felt like we didn't need a buttload of points.
Yeah.
Like it just always felt like they were playing intelligently, like they were playing to the opponent. They knew they were doing even the final 2 minutes, right? Like when they were running out the clock and they knew what they needed, and it was a very systematic game in a good way. I don't know. I was never truly nervous watching this game, and yeah, I think you also make a good point. We're gonna talk about make sure you subscribe, and we'll be posting the next video tomorrow, which is leading up into this game at home against the Giants. I think we have a great situation here, and you got to be a little positive coming off of a loss against the Giants, and we got to assume we're going to change that up here. But we'll get into those details next time. So anyway, thank you everyone for listening to Philly Sports Now, Philly Fan Podcast. You can find us on social media. Links are in the description below. I'd like to thank everyone for sticking around. We've got a bunch of new subscribers, so thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to see you in the next one. I just stole Markiplier's bit. I'm going to keep it at it. All right. As always, go birds. Bye.